We made it.
We did. I was really getting into that music personally, but well, hello
Ah,
everybody. Welcome to thank you. Welcome to What's Cooking with Dr. Cook. I'm Dr. Allison Koch, the resident registered dietitian and editor for foodguides.com. Today is a very special show. It is an RD to RD chat, and I'm so excited because we have a fellow registered dietitian here with me, yay, and also a board certified specialist in sports dietetics, Amy Goodson. So welcome to the show, Amy.
yeah,
We're
thank you
so
for
happy to have
having
you.
me. Yeah, thank you for
Yay!
having me.
Wonderful, yes. And I honestly have to take a moment to hype you up.
Ah.
Yes, because really, you are so cool. I mean, you really are. Um, Not only are you the original OG with foodguides.com, the original OG contributor, but like
Mhm.
you have an incredible wealth of experience in the area of sports dietetics and just a heck of a career. You've done a ton of work with professional sports athletes. I mean, Dallas Cowboys, oh my gosh, Texas Rangers, the affiliate teams, including our home team here in Hickory, North
Mhm.
Carolina, the Hickory
I
Crawdads. I
know.
mean, so many more. Um, and I'm just excited to have like an RD to RD chat with you,
Yeah.
about food and fitness, centered around your
Hmm.
expertise in sports dietetics. But I also just want to touch on the fact that both of us have had just really cool career journeys as dietitians, um, and just kind of want to kick it off with how you decided to go into dietetics. What made you choose that career path? How did you end up where you are now?
Hmm. So I actually did not choose that career path initially. So I actually have my original degree in communications. I had no
Okay.
idea what I wanted to do with my life. And throughout my whole life, I was really good at memorizing things and standing on a stage and talking. And my mom was like, you can really do that in any field. So maybe just do that and you work it out later. So I said, okay. I was a dancer growing up. I loved fitness. And so when I got into college, I started teaching group exercise and became a personal trainer. And just personally, I had always been interested in nutrition for my own self. And so as I got more into teaching group exercise, I took a class and then I took another class and I ended up minoring in exercise physiology for no other reason than but I liked it and I liked fitness. But that, they just marry together so well. And somewhere along the way, my senior year in college at TCU in Fort Worth, Texas, I learned about the exercise and sports nutrition graduate program at Texas Women's in Denton. I wish to this day I could remember what led me there. I can't. And I have an excellent memory. So I don't know how I missed like the contributing factor that got me to my career, but I did. So I went and saw them and they said, well, that's great that you want to join this program, but you're really going to need to be a registered dietitian. And I'm like, what does that entail? It's probably better. I didn't know totally. But I heard you got to take chemistry,
Yes.
organic chemistry, biochemistry, A&P, and microbiology, and then we'll,
Mm-hmm.
consider letting you in. So I just ended up graduating with my communications degree, went there, did all my undergrad to be a registered dietitian, and then did a master's, which is about the equivalent of a double master's in exercise and sports nutrition. So I would say for me, the fitness path is probably what really led me there, built my interest in it. And then from there, once I got into obviously sports, I knew that I wanted to go into the sports world, not really knowing exactly where it would take me, but that was kind of my launch, I would say, into nutrition as I know it. So
Wow. Yeah. So that's a road for sure. And
yes, 7 years of college to be exact, 7 years.
I can relate. My first, yes,
Yeah.
my first major was English with a Spanish minor.
Oh,
Moved
fantastic.
into, oh yes, moved into marketing. Then thought nursing. got into nursing school, but had
Mm-hmm.
taken an intro to nutrition course and was like, this is more specific.
Yeah.
And then went into dietetics and realized that there's this whole world of
Yeah.
nutrition, and thinking that dietetics was going to be more specific, and then getting into the dietetics program, and wow, nutrition is just so
Yeah.
vast, and there's so much
So much.
variety of different things that
Mm-hmm.
you can do with it. But at the time, having no idea how
Mm-hmm.
difficult it would be to get an internship, and who, that's one
Yeah.
thing, that I think people don't realize, is that it's incredibly, um, you know, challenging
Yeah.
to get a dietetic internship and to become a
Mm-hmm.
registered dietitian. You have to
Yeah.
put in the work. You really
Yeah, you
do.
do. Yeah, you really do. I did a combined master's degree internship program. So I was kind of like taking graduate school, and I was probably about almost all the way done with graduate school before I started my internship, which I actually think played to my advantage because I felt like I knew a lot more by then. And then finished my internship, had like two classes to take, professional paper, and then was able to graduate and move on. But and the beauty of it is I've gotten to marry the communications and the nutrition. My dad goes, I was kind of wondering how you were going to make this all work together. And now I do so much speaking and media, like both in the sports nutrition and health and wellness space. So, it all worked out.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I followed Jennifer Brunelli. I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
know
Yep.
her.
Know
I'm
her.
sure you do. I mean,
I do know her.
that's another
Yes.
thing. So she's, for those of you who do not know, she's the dietitian for the Carolina Panthers. She's also
Mm-hmm.
done a ton of work for NASCAR. Um, it is amazing to see the amount of dietitians who are just employed and recognized as assets for the professional sports teams
Mm-hmm.
and the collegiate teams now.
Yeah.
Um, it's been a road, but
It has
it's
been a
been
road.
amazing to see. Absolutely.
Even just what's happened in my career time. So I became a dietitian in 2006. So it's crossed my 16th year being an RD. And when I got into sports nutrition, there were not that many of us. There were like 20 of us in a room at a conference being like, so what are you doing? Because like, we don't know what we're doing. What are you going to do about that? How are we going to do that? Whatever. It was just the field was so new. I would say not new, but in that type of role, working full time in professional and collegiate sports. And that's kind of where CPSDA, the Collegiate Professional Sports Dietitians Association, kind of launched out of to really help grow the profession. And they've done a fantastic job. But now, oh my gosh, like it's just everywhere. What I have watched in the last 16 years is crazy to see at the professional level, the collegiate level, military, Olympics, like all the things.
Yes.
There's just so many opportunities that have arisen, I would say, in the sports nutrition space, as well as the health and wellness space, the sports medicine space,
Yes.
the gym space, all of those things. So it's a really cool field to be a part of. And I always joke and say I've worked Pee Wee to pro because like I've stood in dirt and talked to 9-year-old baseball players, and I also have a World Series ring. So, it's kind of like the best of both worlds, right? But you really can apply sports nutrition at the tiniest level, at that, middle school, high school level, and then you can take it and take those same principles and apply it to the everyday workout person. So it does really offer, I think, a lot of opportunity for helping people and growing job opportunities in the space as well.
Absolutely. And that's a beautiful thing, because we are in a world of the internet and so much
Mm-hmm.
misinformation. So
Yes.
having, you know, the credentialed experts out there
Mm-hmm.
spreading the correct information is
Yes.
so key. So key.
Yeah. I agree. Because there's a lot of misinformation. Especially in the sports nutrition space too. Like, there's so many people talking, and I always joke and say, because everyone eats, everyone has an opinion about it. Like, not everyone builds buildings, and not everyone is an architect. I don't walk in a building and be like, they really should have done this structural thing differently. I don't know anything about building buildings, but because everyone eats, so many people have an opinion. And a lot of people talk loudly about opinions, and people are drawn to what I call popular science. And so, yeah, it's like uphill battle for dietitians, I feel like, to really educate on good nutrition, but also bust some of the myths that are out there associated with the stuff we see.
Yeah, well, that actually brings me to my first question for
Okay.
you. um, and it really kind of goes around my experience as a high school teacher, because I had so many athletes in my
Mm-hmm.
classes, and you know, they would come in drinking, sports drinks throughout the day. And I am a huge advocate for hydration, because
Mm-hmm.
hydration does so many good things for the body.
Right.
And I think generally people are underhydrated. And
Mm-hmm.
if they actually were to hydrate more, they could deal better with headaches. They'd have, better skin, etc.
Sure.
But when it actually comes to, let's say, those peewee, those
Mm-hmm.
kids who are
Yeah.
playing, peewee sports into high school, when is it appropriate to utilize a sports drink for hydration?
Yeah. So when we talk about hydration, you are very correct. It's so important. We know that a 2% level of dehydration in the body equates to about a 10% decrease in performance. So as dehydration gets worse, performance declines. So to your point, if you go rolling into a workout, a training session, or a game dehydrated, you're technically already going to be at a deficit, maybe compared to your hydrated, opponent or whatnot. So staying hydrated is so important. So of course we work with athletes of all ages to stay hydrated consistently over the course of the day. I'm like, I don't care if you drink your 20 ounces before your workout. If you did not do a good job hydrating all day, you're really not technically hydrated. So obviously drinking water, low calorie beverages. And so when we start talking about sports drinks, I always joke that a sports drink is what it is. It's a sports drink. Drink while playing sport. I'm like, I always tell people, don't get mad at the product because you use the product inappropriately. It's not a math drink. It's not a movie drink. It's not a desk drink. It's a sports drink, right? And so when you look at really the main components of sports drinks, you have carbohydrate or sugar, because when you're moving a lot, you're burning that off. You have sodium, you have potassium, electrolytes that you're sweating out. And then oftentimes there's different other small electrolytes, but those are really the three: fluid, carbs, and electrolytes are the main components to a sports drink. And so typically we tell athletes, if you're well fueled and well hydrated, you should be pretty good on water up to about 60 to 90 minutes. At that 60 to 90-minute mark is where you really need to start adding in probably some carbohydrate and electrolytes if that exercise is going to continue. Now, there are some little caveats to that. If I live in Texas, right? It's humid where you live too. I mean, if it's Texas in August and you're like dripping sweat, it's hot, humid, like you do not have to wait till the 60-minute mark to drink a sports drink, especially like if you play young athletes that play like football where they're covered in clothing and helmets
Right.
and there's heat. So obviously there's some caveats to that. Or I'm like, if you go in and you're going to be out there for 3.5 hours, don't wait till the 90-minute mark. Because the one thing I'll tell you about dehydration is once you become dehydrated, you ain't coming back until you stop exercising. It is very hard to catch up, and it's typically almost impossible till you're able to stop exercising and then just be able to rehydrate. So the thing that I like to tell athletes, fitness people, parents especially, that talk about young athletes and should their kid drink a sports drink, is if like we say this is normal, right? Well, if I'm an athlete, I'm playing soccer, I'm playing volleyball, basketball, whatever I'm playing. I'm running, jumping, sweating, sweating, sweating. All right. So I am burning off energy and sweating out sodium, which means my stores are decreasing. So when I add a sports drink in, I'm not really adding to, I'm replacing. And so that's what I like to help a parent see, or even an athlete that's confused about this, is that when you're exercising consistently for long periods of time, you're burning off carbohydrate, which means you're using up your stores. And we have limited stores of carbohydrate. You're sweating out electrolytes. So those sports drinks really play a role in replacing those things pre, during, and post exercise. 5 hours after your workout, okay, you probably don't need the extra sugar and the sodium at that time, or you could probably get that from more of a complex carbohydrate that might have a variety of other nutrients associated with it to refuel those carbohydrate stores. But the reason those simple sugars are used in sports drinks is because they digest very quickly. Well, when you're running or jumping, you don't really want it to digest slow. I need energy now. And so that's the way I kind of try to teach athletes and try to teach parents, obviously, as well, that are concerned about giving their children sugar and salt. I'm like, if you're burning off sugar and sweating out salt, then in that case, there's a place to replace it, but that doesn't mean you should be doing that all day.
Perfectly said. Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's a common, yeah, it's a very common question. It's a common concern for athletes, but I also think that carbohydrates and salt have become a villain in the world of sports nutrition due to misinformation. And you have athletes that are probably running around on low energy stores and significantly low sodium levels, which is going to contribute to dehydration, can contribute to muscle cramping and a variety of other problems. And so if you're not replacing those, you're going to have a hard time making it through a long workout. Or like at high schoolers, a lot of them play a school sport and then they go play a club sport or they play a select sport. So there could be hours of exercise going on. And if you're not doing a good job of replacing those stores, it definitely could harm you, I would say, from a performance standpoint, and due to that dehydration really affecting performance.
Exactly. And that's what I try to explain to those teenagers. Like, this is something
Mm-hmm.
that you're not supposed to be drinking while you're sitting in the classroom for 2 hours
Yep.
listening to a lecture.
Sports drink, right? Drink while
Exactly.
playing sport.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
the
Yes.
easiest way I know to describe it. Like,
No, I love that. That's perfect.
mm-hmm.
Exactly. And with those kids, a lot of times they also had all of these questions for me once they found out, oh, you're a registered dietitian,
Yeah.
Um, one of the things that they would always ask is, how do I gain muscle? How do I gain weight and how do I
Yes.
gain muscle? Because when
Yeah.
you're an adolescent male and you're going through those growth spurts and you're super
Yep.
skinny in class and you feel kind of awkward.
Yes.
Do you ever come across that in practice and do you get those
So
questions?
I have spent more time in my life putting weight on people than I have spent taking it off of people. So
Mm-hmm.
working tons of high school athletes, I worked in college sports for 10 and a half years, the NFL for 5, and Major League Baseball for 6, along with other professional sports and whatnot along the way. And yeah, you get, and especially like guys age like 12 to 22, 23, you're in this really crazy growth and development stage. You're going through levels of puberty, putting on testosterone. Guys really hang out, and that I've seen guys in college grow an inch. So they really do hang out in that stage. So you got a couple of things working for you. You're a male, you're in a growth and development stage and producing large amounts of testosterone, and you're exercising. So you really have a metabolism that's like through the roof. And so when I talk to these guys and I can't gain weight, I can't gain weight. Yeah, well, it takes some effort. And the key is you have to eat more calories than what you need. They always look at protein. You do need more protein. You need more carbs, more fat, more everything, but you have to have a surplus of calories and really dividing those calories up over the course of the day. So first thing I tell athletes, I'm like, oh, what do you eat for breakfast if you want to gain weight? Oh, I don't eat breakfast, or I eat Green Leaves. And I'm like, you don't want to gain weight then. I'm sorry, you don't want to gain weight.
Always.
Because the key is break the fast. Your goal as an athlete, if you're trying to gain weight, is to basically always be working off of what you just put in your body. So I like to use the example of driving a car. If I fill up my car with gas and I hang out and go on a road trip, all right, I can probably drive for 4 hours or so without running out of gas, but my tank is getting lower and lower and lower. Versus if I stop in a town, like every other town, and put gas in my car, constantly working what I just put off in my body. Mm-hmm. So that's my goal with basically athletes that are looking to gain weight. I'm trying to incrementally provide food. I don't care what you can eat at dinner. I want to know how many times can you eat throughout the day so that I can accumulate nutrition. Then you're trying to look at how can I get more calories per bite. It's not always about eating more food. It's often about making more nutrient dense or caloric choices. And so some items are like instead of eating your sandwich on thin little bread, eat it on a bagel. Instead of drinking just water, drink milk or chocolate milk at meals. Instead of eating Cheez-Its all day, the high school snack of choice, let's snack on trail mix. That's probably got 10 times the calories and way more nutritious. Let's layer peanut butter on things. Let's add smoothies or some of the ready to drink little protein shakes in between. Because guys that often need more calories and aren't hungry for them, you can feed it in fluid because they usually can drink anything. So whether that's chocolate milk, I've used the little Boost and Ensure Plus shakes, making a smoothie, that it really becomes, okay. Sorry. Little faux pas there. My computer went dead. Why did it do that? Can you hear me, Allison? Sorry about that. Okay,
yeah.
Geez, sorry about that. I don't know why I did that. So it really becomes that consistency of getting those calories in and choosing nutrient-dense calories. So your healthy fats, nuts, seeds, nut butters, avocado. And then there's lots of products on the market out there that are really designed to give you more calories per bite. Like there's a little brand called Bobo's. They make these tiny little like bite-sized like mini muffins full of nut butter, like 150 calories a muffin. I'm like, that's a bite. So you have to really start looking at some of your brand bar snack choices. Like granola is a great option. I'll tell athletes, like, create a bag of granola, bag of trail mix, throw it in your bag, eat it in addition to what you normally eat. I really don't care if you eat it all at the same time or different, but those are nutrient rich calories. I have carbs, I have proteins, I have fats, nutrients, but they're dense. And so that is the consistency. And then doing it 7 days a week. Oh, guys that need to gain weight aren't very good. Sometimes on the weekends, they slack off and it's hard. So keeping some of those thinking, making swaps, using my beverages to really help me get more protein and more calories in can be easier ways, but not just looking at your big lunch and dinner. Got to do it often throughout the day.
Have you seen any trouble with getting teenagers or adolescents to start eating breakfast? What has been kind of like the most success with that, or treats, or
so breakfast is special, right? Because most athletes at that age prefer sleep over food, and they always tell me I don't have time to eat breakfast. I'm like, you may not make time to eat breakfast, but you definitely have time, because we all prioritize what's important to us. And for me, breakfast does not mean that you have to bust out a skillet and have an all out cooking scenario, because a lot of kids have to be at school early. And so you can do some really easy things. The other challenge that I see with breakfast are young athletes that go to school and practice and they don't get to go home. And so they either have to bring something, go through the school cafeteria, or many times they eat nothing. So they practice early, they don't eat, and then they don't eat lunch until like 1 p.m., which is totally counterproductive to sports nutrition principles. So my thing is, it can be easy. Like, I get, in a perfect world, you're going to eat oatmeal and eggs and your yogurt parfait, but like sports is the like antithesis of the perfect world. It never works out perfectly. So is that you have a bagel, a peanut butter, a beef jerky stick, and a banana? Is that you got a bag of trail mix and a fruit, and you're going to grab chocolate milk in the school cafeteria? Is it you've got your little beef jerky, you've got some whole grain muffins and some a squirt peanut butter that you're going to squirt and grab a milk. So those are like simple things that you can do. Make a smoothie, bring it with you, put it in a cooler that's going to keep it cold, that's got carbs and protein. So a lot of it is thinking in advance and having those things available to you at your house. But, especially with high school, younger kids, but high school kids, they oftentimes just rely on their parents. And I'm like, you got to take some personal responsibility. If it's important to you to fuel your body and you want to be an elite athlete, then you really need to take some responsibility to become that athlete. And most kids can put some peanut butter on a bagel and throw a banana in a bag. So a lot of it is just like anything, you create habits around what you want to do. And so I'm always challenging them to create a habit and make a new habit. You bring your socks every day, you go to practice, you ask what's required of you. And you didn't ask me this, but I'm going to make this little point that so many times I find athletes get in trouble if they don't go to school, if they don't go to class, if they don't go to lift, if they don't go to practice. They're not getting in trouble for not eating a snack or for not eating a breakfast. Now, their energy levels might suffer, their performance might suffer, their recovery might suffer, but there's no immediate consequence to not eating well, where there's strict consequences to others. So typically when time is short and stress is high, that's what gets pushed to the side, when ultimately that's the thing that's probably going to help elevate their performance and their recovery. So it's just finding that balance, I think, in creating the habits, breakfast included.
Definitely. So that's part of what you're doing when you're going and speaking to the schools, is really, are parents coming to these conversations? Because I mean, really, teenagers have a lot of influence on food decisions that are made in the home, more so than we really understand right now. But that is what, the research is saying. That's what, the kids are saying. That's actually a lot of my dissertation work was in
very interesting
that area. And we know that the teenagers have a lot of influence over what their parents choose. So maybe it's just that self motivation, that self efficacy, and saying, this is what I need.
I totally agree with you. They have a lot of choice, but I'm like, how many teenagers do the grocery shopping for the family?
Right.
Not that many. So it's still the parents actually going to the store and buying food, right? And so a lot of that, I think, is, I always encourage parents, if they have kids of any age, like, if you have the right stuff around and that's what the choice is. Most people are lazy. So if, there's junk around, they choose junk. If there's healthy stuff around, they choose healthy stuff. And so I do a lot of parent talks, actually, like booster club talks or like joint parent athlete talks. I find that parents really want to know. I live in Texas, so sports are a real big thing here, and high school sports are a real big thing, and people want their kids to do really well in them. And so I find that they do want to know. But I find parents that are like, I see a lot of high school kids and they're like, well, my son is taking creatine or he's taking a supplement. I'm like, who bought the supplement? Like, I'm sorry. Like,
right.
And I mean, and the kid's taking creatine, but he's not eating breakfast. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what is happening here? And so I think that there is misinformation out there. I do think that parents let probably children influence them maybe a little more. So not all, but some more than what they should. And kids are trying to look to things like energy drinks and supplements and all these things as replacements for good nutrition. And so they're like, well, I don't have any energy. I'm like, well, what'd you eat? Well, nothing. And I'm like, well, it's amazing what carbohydrate and water might do for your morning workout. And so, a lot of times I had a kid recently, a high school kid, and 2 days of the week he trains in the morning. The other days it's all in the afternoon. And those 2 days he eats breakfast because he goes to a gym. It's not at school. He goes to a gym and trains. And so I was asked about energy levels. He was like, yeah, it's weird. I actually feel better on the days I wake up earlier and go to the gym. I was like, oh, so strange. It's also the 2 days you eat breakfast. And he was like, I never thought about that. I was like, oh, imagine that. So, I think a lot of it is educating the kids, educating the parents. It's never going to be perfect, but trying to incorporate as many nutrient-rich choices. And a lot of it is helping parents understand that, like, it's okay for kids to have, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. They do not have to eat grilled chicken and broccoli all the time. Oh my gosh, they can have granola. Like, I think we got to get out of this, like, it's like they freak out over added sugar, but they'll buy their kid a supplement. I'm like, you're worried about a sports drink and you're buying them a pre-workout. Okay, what's happening here? So I think it's like that balance of, incorporating what works, what's ideal, but then also what like fits the schedule, because sports are never easy. I mean, that's my experience. Like, whatever you think should be is going to be like the opposite. I was thinking the other day about someone's about washing your hands and eating. Like, when I work for the Cowboys, like, we would come out of training camp, the practice, the guys would be eating watermelon with their straight off the field with their hands that have dirt on them. And I'm thinking in my head, well, that was a sure COVID no. Like, they've been touching all their friends and now they're eating watermelon with their hands. And I'm thinking, so I mean, some of it's not ideal. So you have to kind of pick and choose your battles and really, I think, try to focus on where you can optimize the best nutrition where you
can. Yeah, I'm thinking about how, the kids, once they get their license and once, they kind of get their own money, they're going to fast food, a lot of the time anyway. So it is good to have a little bit of control as a parent and offering up those different choices, as you have them. Have that.
Yeah. And a lot of it is education, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
have, I'm working on some programming for the high school space now. And I have a book, the Sports Nutrition Playbook, and I was using some of the tips I have in that for fast food, like fuel. And, one of my concepts that I used to use in professional sports is like, surround it with healthy friends. So if you're going to choose something that's
Mm-hmm.
like, say you really had to have French fries today. Okay, fine. Well, maybe you choose like the grilled chicken sandwich, the fries, and the milk, or whatever. Or you really want the burger today. Okay, cool. Maybe you do like the burger, the yogurt parfait, and the water. So, like, if you're going to choose something that I'm not going to say is bad because I don't believe foods are bad. Like, you can
Right.
choose, there's
Same.
some foods have less nutrients and probably should be consumed less often. Some foods have more nutrients and should be consumed more often. But if you're going
Exactly.
to choose some of the, like if I have a, whatever, triple chocolate chip cookie, but I have it with a turkey and cheese sandwich on whole grain bread. I've got, yogurt, fruit, and like baked pretzels, and I have a cookie, whatever. I have fried chicken strips, gravy, a soda, and a cookie, and French fries. I'm like, the cookie looks terrible. In the other space, the cookie doesn't look that bad. So I think
Right.
it's like that concept of it doesn't have to be perfect, but trying to fuel your plate with as many nutrient rich foods as you can. And then when you put something on your plate that maybe isn't as nutrient rich, it's balanced by those other things. So surround those foods with healthy friends is what I used to
I
tell the
love that.
cowboys. My
That's
theory.
fantastic. When
Yeah.
you are working with the kids and then moving
Mm-hmm.
into the professional athletes,
Yeah.
so I I kind of wonder is do you notice when that kind of shift in mindset happens where people are more committed to making those changes in their dietary behaviors?
It's interesting because I've seen it at different levels. I've seen it at the college level. I've seen it in professional levels. You see some guys that never change. The interesting thing about professional sports, and I've worked in quite a few, is a lot of them are kind of what I like to call just freaks of nature. And they can, oh, there's some music there. They're like little freaks of nature and they're not normal humans. And so they look like they have abs like airbrushed on no matter what they eat. But that's not like normal for most people, right? So that athlete is often hard to like say, oh, well, you need to change or whatever. I find that sometimes if they're struggling in their sport, they want to change. Injuries are great opportunities to change eating habits because they quickly realize how how their body has got to come back and someone else is playing over them now. So I find that injury really takes it over. Age, getting a little bit older really messes you up. And so, I mean, the difference of being 25 or 27 in professional football, you might as well put like 30 versus 50. I mean, it's very different. So I think those things, or like when someone's up against their position. But, some come to it on their own. I do think in the world, sports nutrition is so much more commonplace knowledge now. And athletes, they hear those anti-inflammatory, they hear like, oh, recovery. They may not exactly know always what it means, but they know it's important. And so I feel like just the overall landscape of the louder sports nutrition voice. And I think a lot of it is having dietitians at all these spaces. And I work for the Cowboys and I would get my rookie class and I'm like, how many of you had a meet? And at least half of them are raising their hands, maybe two
Right.
thirds. And so I think that there's just more, whether they paid a lot of attention to it, they're more aware of it for sure. And that is an opportunity to change. But sometimes it takes a little life experience, someone playing over you, or an injury. But I find that once they get it, they're like, oh, you do kind of feel better. Or, oh, that is, yeah, all right. I mean, I used to joke like, if you're cramping in October in Texas when it's 70 degrees and cool outside, and you're playing football in an air conditioned building and it's the beginning of the second quarter, something's not right. Whose fault is this? So you have to look at some of those things and be like, all right, seriously, at some point you got to treat your body. I'll tell you a real fast story because it's funny. I had a kid at the Cowboys, he's 23, and he was no, I love you, all defensive backs in the world, but they've got their own personality and they're little, hotheads usually. And he was like, yeah, I've decided I'm going to start eating better when I'm 25. I was like, 25? He's 23. I was like, 25, huh? All right, cool. So one thing I know about guys, they love cars. I was like, what's your favorite car? Whatever it was. I don't even remember. And I was like, so if you got that car today, would you just like beat the crap out of it for like the next 2 years and then all of a sudden be like, you know what? I'm gonna start taking care of my car today. And he looked at me. He goes, "Ooh, that's something to think about." And I was like, "That's your homework for tonight. Just process that. Let's talk about this tomorrow." But that hit him. He was like, "No way would I get that car and just like kill it for the next 2 years and be like, today I'm gonna start taking care of my car." It's a terrible idea. Well, I'm like, why would you do that to your body when all they're looking to do in professional sports is replace you with the next guy that's younger and faster?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, relatable, 100%.
Yeah,
Love
I've learned
that.
you can relate anything to a
Yes.
car. Helpful with guys.
Yeah. Hey, you connected, and that's, what he needed to hear.
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely. I actually had the opportunity to work with a couple of retired football players, and it was heart-wrenching because they were struggling with their weight because they were still eating the way that they were, trained to eat when they were, playing.
Yeah.
Playing when
It's
they
a
were in
hard
their 20s and
transition for a lot
30s.
of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And they realized that they were doing it, but they didn't know what to do. And, do you see that often?
Yeah, that education is so key. And so like, working in college and professional sports, I would be like to me, I can write you a meal plan, do whatever, but I need you to know what to do so that when I'm not here or you're not here, you can make that decision. So when I worked at TCU for athletics for 10 and a half years. And so I had like a little packet that was called Now That You're Not a College Athlete. And we send it out to all the seniors when they were finishing school. Cause it was like, and the other thing, not only are they used to eating a lot, exercise was built into their day. And now they have these things called jobs. And they either have to get up early and work out before the job, or they have to do it at lunch, or they have to do it after. And it's not built into their day anymore. Plus, they don't have the food provided. And if you go to a big college, they got you are not having to go look for food. They have it served to you regularly. So a lot of it, I think, is just taking that ownership and personal responsibility, figuring out what to eat. The older ones definitely. Again, I remember Jason Wooden was like 29 when I started working with the Cowboys, and I'll never forget. He sat down with me like one of the first people, and he was like, "Okay, I'm about to be 30, which isn't very old in the NFL. That's like ancient." And he was like, "I just realized I got to do more than like go to the weight room. I need to do yoga with my wife. I need to eat better. I need to do all these things because it just like your body does not recover like it does when it's that young." And so it definitely is, I think, a learning curve. And it's like you want to get them and educate them so much earlier. Like I make 17-year-old high school boys sit there and listen to me. I'm like, you need to understand the why, because you need to be able to make these choices when they're not around, because you have one body, and the one you have now is the same one you're going to have with the same heart and the same arteries. And you need to understand how these things affect you. So I think it's making nutrition education commonplace enough that it makes sense to them, and that they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then putting it, relating it. Like to me, I always tell people, if you have a conversation with me or listen to a talk and you cannot walk out of that talk and go feel like you can go to a buffet and know what to put on your plate, I did not do my job. And because I want people to understand how to like take that education and immediately put it on a plate where it doesn't seem like it's a chore. It's just learning about I call it shaping an athlete's plate, how you shape an athlete's plate to fuel your body in relationship to how much exercise you're doing.
Yes, exactly. Well, this has been amazing. Honestly, I have learned from you so much, so many wonderful things to go out there and say. I want to open the floor up to the audience to see if we have any questions. Yeah, wonderful. And so if anybody does have any questions for Amy, please. Oh, hey, we have Deanna.
Oh, good. Can you answer? Yeah. Can you read them to me?
Oh, she's going to talk.
Oh, fantastic. Even better. First time to fireside chats. I don't exactly know how that works.
No problems. No worries. Um, the first time I met Amy on camera, Allison on camera, we were drinking, so that was fun.
Yeah.
It was.
Please invite me to the next wine one. I got iced
Well,
tea
it was
today.
totally Guinness, but yeah, wine would have been much better for me because. So here's my question, because yeah, it took me a day to
Yeah.
recuperate from that, and I only had three
Mhm.
beers. So there's that. I mean, it was Guinness. I mean, but still.
Yeah.
It was St. Patrick's celebration.
Oh, fun, fun.
So here's my question. So I'm
Uh-huh.
53. I am
Okay.
not a sports athlete or any sort of athlete anymore. But I mean, I move, I bike, I do my things.
Yeah.
But I had surgery a couple years ago, and I'm really having a hard time getting my body in balance um,
Yeah.
since then. And I've never had a problem before. I do have a certification in health coaching, so I do know a little bit. I'm not
Okay.
a
Yeah.
dietitian, but I eat well,
Hmm.
and I supplement where needed, and
Hmm.
I am definitely hydrated, and yet my body is not hitting the place of homeostasis. It's not loving me right now. So
Hmm.
tell me, in eating for people who are, I mean, I don't even know, maybe perimenopausal, maybe menopausal, because I'm in that
Yeah.
kind of in between,
Yeah.
and I've lost my uterus. We, we went to
Yeah.
war, and I had to let her go, and
Yeah.
so, what are some things, or yeah, just I don't know, any advice as to something that maybe I would need more of.
Yeah. Can I ask you a quick? Do you care if I ask you a quick question?
I'd seek
With
me all you want.
Okay, so with you, when you say not quite like balanced or homeostasis, is that related to like how you feel energy levels? Is that related to the weight you want to be? Is that related
So
to
my
having energy to exercise? Expand upon that part
Okay,
for
yeah,
me.
sure. Yeah. So my energy is not the best. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not horrible, but it's not great. And my weight is up, but the problem is, it's not a body image thing. It is the fact that I haven't changed anything, yet I keep gaining
Yeah.
weight. And it is, I'm now at probably about 30 pounds, and I can't
Mm-hmm.
possibly eat less. And I get it that, and I'm not trying to eat less, because I'm not. I intuitively eat. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to try to sit here and starve myself, which I know is
Right.
counterproductive anyway. But I'm wondering, in my metrics, okay, again, in my metrics, all my numbers are good. Everything is
Okay.
decent except
On
for,
lab work is fine.
yes, my thyroid is a little bit low, and I'm low, obviously, in some of the hormones like estrogen
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
estradiol, and even testosterone, which is weird because usually, like if the estrogen side is lower, the testosterone's a little bit more, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not. All of those are kind of low. So that's something I am addressing and we're going to work on.
Yeah.
Um, but like my hydration is good, bone density is
Yeah.
good, muscle mass,
That's good.
great. All of that's good. My subcutaneous fat is high.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even
Okay.
my visceral fat, it's my subcutaneous fat.
Yeah.
And I'm just about to scream. I just want it to go away.
Yeah. Has your exercise changed much?
No, not really. I
Okay.
mean, I'm
I
active.
mean, hmm
I don't go to the gym every day of the week. I'm a
hmm
person who has to do things outside. So I walk,
Yeah,
um,
sure.
I ride my bike, I roller skate, and I
Yeah.
do this 3, 4 times a week,
Yeah.
whatever. No, it hasn't really changed. If anything, and I started looking back, I think it's increased. Now I was doing yoga for a while, and I kind of slipped off of that, but really, my movement hasn't changed. My eating hasn't
Okay.
changed. Just,
So
anyway,
I will say, so
my
I
hormones
am, let me preface this with I am not a hormone expert. That is not my space. But I do have a lot. I had a friend that had a hysterectomy like 2 years ago in her mid 40s, another friend. And I will tell you, I have watched a couple of friends like that tell me they feel awful when their hormone levels are off. Like, so whether like one of my friends has had to get like the pellets, or whatever. And I mean, she got that and it's like she came to she was like a whole new person. And so I do know like working with OBGYN or endocrinologist or whatever you're working with is ideal, because I do think that that is something that nutrition cannot fix. If those hormone levels are off, I think that that really can affect how someone feels. I have yet to get to that point of just watching a variety of friends in that space. From a nutrition perspective, I always say, control what you can control, right? Manage what you can manage. Sounds like you're exercising. Good. Probably you're eating like this, but I will say this, my best recommendation to anyone from an eating standpoint is obviously small meals often, starting in the morning, like we've talked about, but really trying to dial in on the carb and the protein. Because if you don't get carbohydrate, you feel bad because your energy levels, your blood sugar will dip. However, if you eat carbohydrate by itself, your energy level, your blood sugar goes high, which usually leads to a drop. That carb protein combination. So like I have oatmeal with scrambled eggs. I have whole grain crackers with cheese. I have chicken with rice, salmon and a sweet potato, yogurt and fruit. Those combinations really create a much more stable blood sugar curve. Protein slows down digestion, so it helps you get full faster and stay full longer, also improving satiety. And so oftentimes I'll look at women to say, are you getting enough protein? Like the research would tell me that about 30 grams breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and getting some at snacks can be really, really helpful from a like feeling more satisfied or satiated. And that can often help with obviously managing calories, managing portion control, but keeping that blood sugar more stable. So that's one of my first go-tos is like a check with everyone. Are you starting in the morning to create a very stable blood sugar base and going carb protein, carb protein, carb protein, sprinkling in, those healthy fats because they do also help you feel more satisfied. So from an energy and standpoint, I mean, obviously we know for weight loss, like in weight loss, I love intuitive eating, but the reality of the situation is there has to be a deficit of calories if you're going to lose weight. And God bless all the women over age 40, myself included. It gets harder. I saw a client today who's 45. She's a triathlete coach. She's like, I just cannot get rid of these 8 pounds, whatever it was. Telling my intern, she's 23. I was like, just telling you, it really is
just
different.
Wait.
And so I do feel like you have to dial in a little tighter, which kind of counters some intuitive eating, kind of counters some of that. So it's like this balance. Like I think you need to be an intuitive eater. I sure don't want people to starve themselves. However, if you really want to lose some body fat, you also have to create a deficit of calories. And I do believe that the carb protein combo does help in regards that protein can really help you feel more satisfied for less calories. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so I mean, I get the deficit. That's not the issue. I don't think I could eat less calories. Like I have a hard time. I personally have a hard time eating.
Maybe you're not eating enough.
Right. I think I personally have a hard time eating enough calories, and that is just because I'm not hungry. And so that is part of it. And I don't know how that's affecting my metabolic rate. You know what I'm saying? Like that could be a part of the problem. And like I said, I'm getting some tests and stuff done right now. Do a lot of things, holistically. And I do like to go the natural route for as much as possible until it's not possible. So I am putting off hormone replacement therapy on the chemical side. And so that is one of the reasons I'm doing all this testing, because I'm looking to natural injections or maybe the pellets, the homeopathic pellets. That is another route. So, but yes, I do get that. I think that something I'm getting out of what you're saying is the combination and also upping my protein. I do think I need more protein. And as a matter of fact, I think on the test, my aminos were slightly low. So that is probably an area that I can probably up and maybe that'll help in the balancing. So anyway,
I would tell you, take your, so we do protein needs by kilograms, unfortunately, but if you take your weight in pounds and divide it by 2.2, that will give you kilograms. Multiply that by 1.5. And for weight loss, getting an adequate protein, that would be about the amount of grams that you would want to consume per day, and then distributing those out over the course of the day.
Okay.
So weight in pounds divided by 2.2. So once you get that number, then you would multiply that by 1.5, like 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram body weight. And so that would help you understand probably the amount of protein that would be a goal for the day. And then you could start to divide that out, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, to see where you could put that in. If you don't feel hungry, another way to be able to do that would be to either use like a protein shake, or if you like milk or something like that, where you could get in some of that protein, sometimes that can be helpful for people if they don't feel or they're not able to eat the grams of protein that they need. You can get it in food, but if you feel like you're not hungry, my experience would tell me most people can drink something if they don't feel hungry. And so that could be an opportunity. Or, like making a latte and putting collagen in it. It's not, collagen is not a complete protein, but it is protein. And so, that could be a way to amp up a glass of, a latte, a cup of coffee with some added protein. So there are some, put protein powder or collagen in your oatmeal or something like that, or make your oatmeal with milk. There are ways that you can kind of amp up the protein of maybe some foods you already consume by just making a few little swaps.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I appreciate that.
Cool. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deanna. Wonderful. Anybody else want to come up and talk to us? While they're thinking about it, if you had to bring 3 foods on a deserted island to eat for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Peanut butter, number 1, and it's shelf stable. So if I get one food, give me peanut butter. I can live. It has carbs, proteins, fats. I'm going to feel full. Can be hot, cold. I can eat it by the spoonful. Excellent. Number 1. If for some reason the island has refrigeration, please send me cheese. Cheese would be my next food.
Cheese, yes.
Just cheese.
After my own heart.
And in a perfect world, please also send me crackers to put the cheese on. So if I only get one, they're throwing me something out of a plane, please throw peanut butter, because I could just eat it. But cheese would definitely be number 2, and I could live on like cheese and crackers. So it supports my carb protein situation totally. So carb protein, peanut butter is kind of all in one. You get it all. So those would be my 3. I've thought about this numerous times.
Oh, yeah, totally. Mine would be, because if there weren't any parameters on the actual question, I would have to go with crawfish étouffée.
Cook that.
It's going to come, prepared, because nobody told me it doesn't come unprepared.
That's hilarious.
Mangoes and vanilla lattes. So,
Interesting. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I kind of went, don't send me fruit. I'm going to be hungry all the time. I need some substance.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
that's what I was going for. Peanut butter is for sure going to be the food that I'm like all out. Please that. Yep. I don't think I would ever get sick of it. I eat it every day of my life.
No. Ooh, that is. Hey, we have another guest up here, Alex.
Okay.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you guys. My question is, I am middle-aged now. I've always had a pretty prominent sweet tooth. I stay in good shape. I exercise a lot and I eat pretty well, but chocolate would be what I would take on my island. Do you have any advice for substitute foods that might help curb the sweet tooth, but would be better for me maintaining, healthier body composition, maintaining, high muscle mass as I get into my, middle years?
Yeah. So number 1, if you were just listening to what I told Deanna, same concept. I find that people that eat balanced throughout the day, so carb protein combinations starting in the morning, do way better at curbing and or maybe saying no to cravings or sweets. Now, I am not saying, Alex, that good nutrition is never going to make you want a chocolate chip cookie. That would be false. However, I do feel like that people that eat more during the day do a better job at saying no at nighttime. Number 1. So starting earlier, people that eat less during the day, they crave everything at nighttime. It's no good. And so that sets them up for failure a lot of times. Number 2, we live in a world where there are a significant amount of swaps, versions of sweet and chocolatey foods that aren't really that bad for you. Number 1, if you've never tried Fairlife chocolate milk, I'm going to change your life today. My dad drinks this every night for dessert. So it's an ultra filtered milk. So they boost the sugar down, protein and calcium up. It might be the best chocolate milk I've ever consumed in my whole life. And you can, in an 8-ounce glass, 140 calories, 13 grams of protein. And it is so good. So number one, try that. It's ultra filtered. It can sit in your refrigerator for like 6 weeks. Number two, things like, I always tell people like things like get like a vanilla Greek yogurt and sprinkle a few dark chocolate chips in there. Like some days, Alex, just like once a week, just eat your chocolate because just eat it because you're going to hate your life if you don't. But I would say maybe don't do it every single day, right? Because that can add up. But like the little dark chocolate chips in your vanilla Greek yogurt, or nowadays, some of the bars out there, like the protein bars or even granola bars that have a chocolate flair, that could be something that, you maybe snap one in half and grab a few nuts. Another one of like, if you've never had like a dark chocolate covered almond with like sea salt, you can eat like 3 of those and you're just kind of like, there's something satisfying, and maybe not eating more than that. So I think there are some things where you can still satisfy that sweet tooth without like going overboard calorically. But I do think trying to help with the cravings is balancing out the day for sure.
Well, thank you very much. That's great advice.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Wonderful. Hey, Chris.
Hey, can I join you on camera?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that possible? Why not?
Yeah, why not?
I had no idea, Chris. No idea.
You have to send me an invite. There you go.
Jason will. Oh, hey. Nice sunny day where you are.
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco.
Oh, man. One of my favorite places.
And
please go to Trident in Sausalito and tell them I love them there. I love that restaurant so much.
So I'm riding around on my little mobility scooter.
Okay.
Anyway, question about salads.
Yeah.
I eat salads all the time, but I got kind of tired of romaine and the standard stuff. So lately I've been chopping up whatever's in the house. For example, the hard part of bok choy, I'll chop that up raw. Brussels sprouts raw. Cabbage raw. Green beans, whatever I come in contact with in the way of
got
green.
a steel over there, Chris.
I'm sorry?
I said you've got a gut of steel over there.
Yeah, well, here's my question. I'm chopping all that up and then putting olives in there and mixing it with olive oil and apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
And Italian dressing. Italian seasoning a little bit. And garlic. Anyway, is that okay as long as in other words, can it last 2 or 3 days, or is it getting too fermenty, or is that all right?
No, just keep it in the fridge in an airtight container, and yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And eat some protein with it. But other than that, yeah.
So that's okay, right? Because I just kind of invented it, I just, whatever's green in the house, it goes in the salad.
Yeah.
I think it sounds great, Chris.
Oh, let me show you this yard. Look at this.
Very fibrous. Oh, look at the flowers. How pretty.
That is pretty.
This is actually a hunting lodge. That's actually used to be a hunting lodge here in the hills of San Francisco. And,
wow. Cool.
Anyway, enough about that. Thank you for answering my salad question.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Always. Nice to see you. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Amy, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I feel like we could just continue to talk for hours.
We could.
Yes. I would love for you to come back and chat more. We have a lot to talk about. But thank you again for coming to the show, and this has been cool. Thank you everybody for joining us today. And next week we're making chocolate avocado brownies.
Oh, then Alex should come back next week, Alex. There you go. Chocolate avocado brownies. Do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
For sure.
Yum.
Have a wonderful, wonderful time and wonderful evening, and we'll see you soon. Yeah. And you have a wonderful evening as well.
Thank you. Y'all too. Thanks for coming.
Yes.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.